Here, we have enough power to generate for 7 million people. We have over 20 gigawatts we service. We have 6,000 employees here, 500 here in Portland, which is kind of nice, kind of cool, and growing. In terms of installations, we've had kind of record numbers since, I like to point out, since 2012, since I started. I remind everybody about that. But more importantly, in the state, we have 150 technicians. It's the fastest growing job for us kind of globally, in technical services. In terms of 250 downtown, and then maybe more importantly, with Evergreen, we're building for them and Apple a large wind farm currently. So that's just a kind of snapshot about us, but I think what's more important is what you guys are talking about this morning. One of the things that, for me, I have 4 kids, 2 of them just out of college, one of them to start to play in MLS, unfortunately for Real Salt Lake this year. But I have 2 younger kids, one named Tommy, who's a sophomore at Lincoln, and then Kate at West Sylvan, and yes, it's Kate Brown. We've had that conversation a number of times. Unfortunately, Governor, she's yet to see and not taking the cake. But unfortunately, I asked her if she wanted to come today, and she gave me that kind of look like, Dad, like, it's snowing outside, I'm going outside. So it was probably a little bit too much to ask her to come. But I think it's important to kind of think through the challenges that we're here today about, because, you know, for me, I lost my wife this past year, and now it's really about 2 things: work, which is what I do, and family. And those are kind of intertwined, because for me, it's like, if you're not worried about the environment and what you're going to do for your future, you're kind of not really got your head on straight. A lot of people in the economy right now and in politics probably don't have their head on straight. What I know about this woman is she certainly has her head on straight. I think I met her 6 years ago and kind of hit it off right from the get-go. She walks the talk. She does things the right way. She doesn't shy away from issues. I'm happy to call her a bestest friend, but also a personal friend. I like to give money as well as support. So for me, it's an easy kind of introduction. So from that, I think it's ready to turn over to you, Governor, and let's get going. All right.
Everyone, and thank you all so much for being here. I know some of you had to travel through snow and ice to get here. I grew up in Minnesota, so it was a piece of cake for me. Plus, I have fabulous security driving me everywhere I go. I also am delighted to be back at the law school from which I graduated a few years ago. Yay, Liz, and I want to say thank you to Chris for that very kind introduction. And I remember his daughter's name starts with a C as opposed to a K. Because I have actually a letter from her hanging up on one of our walls in the Capitol office, so I get to see it every single day.
And the worst part is it's in her bedroom with a picture of her, so I see the governor every morning. Hi, Kate. Hi, Kate.
So I understand that last year Governor Inslee was able to join us. It's unfortunate he couldn't be here this year. My only comment is maybe he was too busy running for president. Wait for announcement. I don't have a clue. I am not running. No, I am not. I think my spouse is done with campaigns. So I probably am too. So that's a good thing. So I thought I would talk a little bit bigger picture. I know this is a room full of geeks and wonks. But from my perspective, I think it's really important to not be in the cells of the weeds, but to sort of take a look at the forest. And that's what I wanted to share with you this morning. And what I love about Oregon, and there's many things I love about Oregon, but I love our progressive spirit and the fact that we have really set a tone for decades for being progressive leaders on a number of issues, from democracy issues to environmental policy. And in terms of environmental policy, it's really been extraordinary. We passed the nation's first bottle bill. We were, I think, the first state in the entire country to ensure that our coast, our public beaches would be accessible to all Oregonians. And then we were the first state in the entire country to ensure that our forest and farmland would be protected through Oregon's land use system. And I am hoping with the support of a number of you in the room, and I know we've got some folks here from Alaska and California as well, that we're going to be able to continue to make progress tackling global climate change this legislative session. What I have learned in my multiple decades of public service is that change takes time and is often done incrementally. And I have to say, I've been primarily engaged, frankly, in the social justice movement. And if I think back to the number of years it took for us to pass LGBTQ equality, I started working on it in 1991. We were finally able to move legislation forward in 2007. That was on top of a decade and a half of other activists. So it took a 30 to 40 year period to pass that legislation. And what I'm blown away about is the speed at which we are moving forward in Oregon around environmental protection. And it was literally just 12 years ago that Governor Ted Kulongoski laid the groundwork to create a renewable portfolio standard and set a cap on carbon emissions. And since I've become governor, we've been able to certainly make progress every single year. I was able to sign our low carbon fuel standard in 2015. We followed that, and I know a number of you in the room worked on that legislation by passing the nation's coal to clean. It's the first one to intentionally move Oregon away from coal-generated electricity. And that was passed in 2016. And in 2017, we passed legislation to create a transportation package. And I think what was unique, at least for Oregon, about that transportation package is we did a couple of things. For the first time ever in Oregon's history, we invested in public transit statewide. And that's really a game changer for our rural communities across the state. But the second thing we did was create an EV rebate program for low and moderate income families. And I think that just really sends a really clear message that we want to make sure that everyone in Oregon has access to new technology and cleaner, greener energy. So the challenge is that despite all that we have done, it clearly hasn't been enough. We are not meeting the goals that were set by the Kulongoski administration in 2017. I think we're all seeing, whether you live in Alaska or California, the challenging impacts of climate change. It's certainly impacting our economies, our people, it's certainly impacting our way of life. And I would just say that there are no communities hit harder than our underserved communities, our communities of color, our tribes, and of course our rural communities. Just to share with you a couple of examples that are really poignant for me. In 2017, you might recall, during the Eagle Creek fire, the I-84 was shut down for a period of 4 weeks, causing havoc, frankly, for our communities in the gorge and their ability to get products in and products out. This past summer, the Rogue Valley in southern Oregon was inundated by smoke for over 6 weeks. It was extremely challenging for their outdoor recreational industry, for their tourism industry. The Shakespeare Festival, they had to cancel over 20 productions of the outdoor plays that they had. Right now, about 90% of the state is in drought. Our tribes that are seeking first foods, my understanding is they need to go higher and further to gather the first foods that they gather. And 2018, I know it was a hot election cycle, but it was also a very hot year for Oregon as well. It was the hottest year in Oregon since 1895. That was a few years before I was born, in case you're counting. Wasn't it? No. No. So from my perspective, it's absolutely critical that we tackle these issues with urgency and in a way that doesn't exacerbate the disparities in our underserved communities. So last fall, I outlined my clean energy and climate agenda for Oregon, and it reflects priorities in 3 particular areas. Number 1, expanding EV infrastructure and incentives to support at least 50,000 electric vehicles on the road in Oregon by 2020. and progress toward the goal of making sure that all passenger vehicle sales will be electric by 2050. I know Mayor Gamba is one of my partners on this, so thank you for your great work that you're doing. Number 2, decarbonizing our electricity system through transition to more renewable resources, greater energy efficiency, grid modernization, and regionalization of our energy markets. And of course, number 3, and this is a challenging one, but it's a really important one, that we enhance the capacities of our natural and working lands to sequester and store carbon and adapt to climate change. I have to say, however, that the centerpiece of the strategy is my goal for Oregon to adopt a well-designed, market-based cap and invest program to achieve our state climate emissions reduction goals. We have a significant opportunity in Oregon right in front of us. Oregon would be the 2nd state in the entire country to enact an economy-wide cap and invest program. I think we all know what's happening at the federal level with DC rolling back environmental protections. When I first started counting last fall, it was about 46. Now they're up to 53. What I'm proud about is that in Oregon, we're continuing to move forward. I see tackling global climate change as one of our greatest economic opportunities in this state. If you look at what's happening globally, investment in clean energy exceeded over $330 billion last year, and my goal is to track more investment like that to Oregon. I see a cap and invest program to put Oregon on the leading edge of these fast-changing and competitive energy markets. We can do this at least cost by aligning market incentives to drive greater efficiency and investment in low-carbon technologies and land use practices in Oregon. We know that the world is rapidly transitioning away from fossil fuels. 70 jurisdictions worldwide have carbon pricing programs implemented or scheduled, representing about 20% of global emissions. The list includes 11 U.S. states. It includes Canada, it includes Mexico, China, and of course Europe. The total value of carbon priced under these initiatives exceeds $80 billion. So Oregon can certainly join the vanguard of jurisdictions building long-term competitiveness, creating good jobs, and improving access to affordable energy, or it can risk falling behind. So we're certainly seeing the benefits of clean energy investments in the state, all across the state. We have over 50,000 people working in clean fuels and clean power generation and in energy efficiency. More than half of the clean energy jobs are found outside the Portland metropolitan area, and 36, which I believe is all Oregon counties, employ workers in clean energy. And we have 11,000 Oregonians working in rural energy. And we have more than 130 wind and solar companies that call Oregon home, obviously Vestas being one of those. So that's just absolutely fabulous. Our well-paid jobs in the clean energy sector, of course, boost our entire economy, but it also supports other local businesses and jobs that those businesses support. So these are the reasons why I think it's absolutely critical that Oregon pass our proposed clean energy jobs bill this session. In case you don't have it memorized or tattooed on your forehead like Kristen Sheeran does, it's House Bill 2020. And obviously we need to continue to make progress on our other clean energy priorities. But we have to do that in a way that ensures that we are, that it's equitable, and it invests in communities and sectors that are most impacted by climate change. I mentioned our rural communities, our low-income communities, our tribes, our communities of color, our tourism, and of course our natural resources-based industries. Future generations here in Oregon and across the entire United States deserve us not to think just about the future, but fight like hell to protect it. And so that's why I'm looking forward to signing House Bill 2020 and look forward to working with all of you to make that happen. Thank you all.
A couple of questions in here, if the governor would like to, maybe from something like. The first one would be around, this is something of a regional coordination. In specific, an ISO. Where do you see that regional ISO movement going? And how does Oregon play that leadership role, or can it?
So, my experience has mostly been working through the Pacific Coast Collaborative, and that's our California, Washington, and Oregon. We also are partnering with British Columbia. I actually think that is more of a short-sighted regional strategy, and we need to be thinking about the West in its entirety. So I think we need to be focused on the grid in the Western region, and I think we need to be focused, obviously, on storage. My hope was that the other Governor Brown, Jerry Brown, was going to lead this effort. He's clearly finding that it's going to be a lot more fun working on his ranch and hanging out with his corgis. So I'm going to be talking with my other teammates, Governor Inslee, Governor Bullock, to figure out how we continue to move this agenda forward. But I don't think we're successful, Oregon working alone. I don't think we're successful just working with the states on the West Coast. It has to truly be a regional strategy, and so we're going to figure out how we make that happen. And we're all going to have to be working together to be successful.
How about carbon policy, the carbon policy office that you actually, stepped up to? How do you see that really functioning? And, how do you think that consolidated office can be useful, like right now?
So we worked really hard in the last session, which was February of 2018, to try and pass the Clean Energy Jobs Bill. Clearly, the legislation needed more time to kind of work through the system, and also, frankly, we needed to change the framework. But what we did do in February is create our Carbon Policy Office. Kristen Sheeran, who I think most of you know and is capable of geeking out with all of you, is here. I saw Greg is here. Who else is here from the Carbon Policy Office? I think it was the first office of its kind created in the entire United States. But the goal of creating that Carbon Policy Office is really to help us lay the framework to make sure that we can be successful in passing our clean energy jobs legislation this session. And so I'm hoping by all extents it's going to be successful. I see that office then moving in to a new agency that we will be creating, the Oregon Climate Authority. Many of you may probably know that I proposed sort of eliminating the Oregon Department of Energy. Janine Benner's been here, I know, all morning. Thank you, Janine. And essentially putting the work of the Carbon Policy Office in the Oregon Climate Authority new agency. So I see them being an instrumental part of the new agency, but they will no longer be standalone within the Department of Administrative Services.
So how about some compare and contrast? In California, cap and trade program has been kind of treated as the backstop. And obviously with your new legislation, there's a little bit of that as well. Do you foresee Oregon working in a similar nature on that backstop in your legislation, or how do you think it works?
I think it's too soon to tell at this point. I think one of the challenges of saying that this particular legislation is like California's is that we have a lot of legislators and a lot of policymakers who reject it by virtue of the fact that it's somewhat like California. So from my perspective, I think we're trying to focus on policy that works for Oregon. My goal is to make sure that the economy in Oregon continues to grow. As many of you know, we have one of the fastest job growth rates in the entire country. I want to make sure that this legislation encourages and supports that, not that it puts a damper on it. So
let's talk about that. Oregon and jobs. Obviously, we're here. Avangrid's here. A number of kind of renewable energy companies are here. EDP and others. Pattern. How do you see kind of Oregon attracting companies, maybe in addition to the OEMs and the developers, but also kind of the C&I companies, Apple, obviously Nike. How do you attract them with packages to create an epicenter of renewables here? It's the epicenter of the renewables right here.
Yes, epicenter of the renewables right here. So I think in some extent, those companies have been attracted to Oregon for a number of reasons already. Obviously, our low cost of energy, our low cost of water, our beautiful quality of life that we have, except when it snows and everything, nobody feels like they can go anywhere. I think we're seeing it sort of being synergistic. So I know in meeting with the folks at Amazon, they are demanding that their energy be clean energy because their customers are demanding it. I know the same is true for PGE, that their customers, I know City of Portland, Multnomah County, are demanding clean energy. So I think the extent that we can expand and enhance access to clean energy, I think it's going to promote both technology development and innovation in other areas as well.
I think you raise a good point. I think utilities of the world need both themselves getting encouraged and incented to adopt the energy, but also the IPPs and others. But that's exciting.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Two more questions.
And I'll just say, I was able to go out, I think Pacific folks, Pacific Core is here, yeah. I was able to go out and do a ribbon cutting or whatever on a combined project with a, I won't say what kind of Facebook company in Brownfield that was focused on expanding access to solar. It was 468 megawatts. And so I see that as sort of as being synergistic. It's like they want to be here because they can access renewable energy.
Batteries, et cetera.
Yep.
Let's go two more, maybe a little bit more controversial questions. One, the congressman talked about Senator Merkley's new Green Deal, Green New Deal. Obviously, AOC has announced it. How does your legislation?
I just want you to know, in my world, AOC is the Association of Oregon Counties. I know who you're talking about, but that's who I think about. So keep going.
So what do you? I mean, how does that? What does that thing mean to you? And how does it relate to what you're trying to accomplish?
So I actually think our clean energy jobs bill is the Clean New Deal in Oregon, and the work we haven't. I don't think we've done an entirely game-changing proposal yet in the last handful of years, but I think we have been making steady and incremental progress. I talked about the work that Kulakowski did in '07, renewable portfolio standards, capping carbon emissions, the work we've done consistently, low carbon fuel standard, investing in transportation, and of course our coal to clean and doubling our renewable portfolio standard. All of that work is being used as the frame of the work we're doing now in House Bill 2020. And I think it's really hard to make huge leaps, and that's why I said at the outset that public policy change is incremental. So the work we've been doing over the last several years has truly made a difference. And House Bill 2020 is our bill, and it's going to change the world here in Oregon. I just want to share, I happened to be over in Hawaii for a meeting a few months ago, and had an opportunity to talk with Governor Ige. And obviously Hawaii's energy issues are substantially different given their location, geography. And they moved forward on legislation last year to implement 100% renewable by 2045. But what Governor Ige was so blown away about is the rapid speed that technology, innovation, and creativity are happening, because they have different cost drivers there. Energy is so much more expensive. But because of this legislation, he said that is absolutely just driving innovation and creativity. So we know these types of bills work. And I hope I get to sign it this session.
Last question, maybe a little controversial. California, obviously one of its largest corporations, has just filed bankruptcy. We kind of sidestepped that earlier in the morning, but if you were giving advice to the Public Utility Commission about how to have healthy utilities and healthy IPPs, what would you give them?
Oh my gosh. Kristen, you want to take that one? Holy smokes. Look, I want to make sure that the system works, that we can continue to have reliable, affordable energy, and that's not just for the Portland area. That has to be for Pendleton, it has to be for Ontario, it has to be for Adel, Oregon as well. And so I want to make sure that we have a system that people can rely on and people can afford to buy into and afford to run their businesses and afford to live their lives. So that would be my focus. while we move toward clean, renewable energy.
I think we have 3 more minutes. We can take 1 or 2 questions from the audience if somebody has a burning.
But none of my professors are here. Any questions?
I've got a question. We've been mostly talking about domestic and state energy policy here, and one of the, I'm sure you get this question a lot, Governor Brown, but one of the big climate science issues is the Jordan Cove facility in Southern Oregon and the huge footprint that that would have. And I've heard you talk about the sort of like technical details of your office's perception about its authority, but just in terms of squaring the circle, how do you be a climate champion and not come out against export projects like that?
So you didn't have a red t-shirt on, but the sticker on your computer should have given me a signal. It says no pipeline, basically. So here's the commitment I made to Oregonians, and that is I commit as governor when I was running for this office that I would make sure that Oregon regulations are enforced, that statutes are followed, and that Oregonians on all sides of the issue have an opportunity to have their voices be heard. It's the duty and the obligation of the governor to ensure that there is a fair process. And that's exactly what I am going to do. As you know, that there are several permitting processes in place at this point in time, and I am making sure that Oregonians, whether they support the pipeline, oppose the pipeline, or somewhere in between, have an opportunity to weigh in. Vicki Walker's director of state lands just held a handful of hearings around the state, and in some places they had hundreds of people show up, in some places 1,000. Public comment closed last Sunday. She will make a decision after reviewing the record. Obviously, other agencies are working through the rulemaking process, but I expect them to follow the law. I expect them to comply with regulations and to weigh the information in front of them and make the best decision possible.
1 more question. If we have 1 more question going, I see him right there in the middle. The young gentleman, sweet sweater.
Thank you very much for coming today, Governor. Actually, I'm not going to ask you a question because I'm not sure I would like the answer. But I'd like to make a suggestion. As the legislature reviews your clean energy bill, I hope you will consider, since I have been told by those who know more than I, that just like in Washington, this bill may very well be referred to the voters by a very well-financed campaign. That I hope that you will consider the possibility as a way not only to help those you say that may be being left behind, and to blunt that campaign, to consider at least some of the allowance fees be rebated to each individual citizen in the country. This is starting to happen in the eastern side of Canada. There are proposals on the federal level. So I didn't ask what you would do because I was afraid you might say no, but I do think given the risk of referral, we need to have a new kind of kicker that will help save the environment, but rebate some of the money back.
Thank you. That is certainly one of the options on the table. We are not calling it the kicker, however. Trust me. I know that Senator Vance suggested something similar in the form of a tax credit. So that is something that's on the table, and we're certainly looking at it. It's part of the consideration of options, and I'm certainly open to it. So, thank you.
I think we got the signal from the troopers.
We get the hook.
So, I don't know if you want to.
All right, no, I just wanted to thank you both, and I think we're, I think it's light.
I just have to say, I brought my snowshoes and cross-country skis up from Salem last night in hopes that I would be able to use one or both of them this morning, and I was sorely disappointed.